All right, Derbyites, I'm Paul Sheehan, executive editor of Gold Derby, and I'm here with Riley Chow. If any of you watched our drama series, hour-long Slugfest, we promised this one on comedy. I guess we should keep it to half hour, since that's what the Emmys have decided comedies are. It's just half hour long. Anyway, Riley is our Nate Silver. This is a fellow who knows his stats. He knows his Emmy history. He knows how shows that do with the guilds, how that translates or not into the Emmys. We really dove into drama. I don't think the comedy series is that deep this year. I think if it's got to be a shallow dive, doesn't it, Riley?
Yeah, I find it very shallow. I mean, I wish that sketch series could compete with comedies, because then my predictions would just be, Transparent, Veep, Silicon Valley, Key and Peele, and Inside Amy Schumer. I'd just be done with it. Whereas you take those two out and I have to fill it with like 4 other shows, I can hardly see anything getting nominated.
Okay, but there will be 7 nominations, so
at least, possibly 9. Yeah,
that's right. Right, we talked about that on the other in the drama side, the 2% rule. If the 8th or 9th come within 2% of the 7th, then they'll get a nomination. Veep, I mean, our odds have it far out in front to win. What does Riley Chow have it far out in front as well?
I think having Veep out in front is pretty sensible. I do have Transparent picked right now. We'll see how the nominations go, but I was very surprised when Transparent won the Producers Guild Award this year. The Producers Guild, they've got that Emmy overlap, and unlike the other guilds, they use the same calendar year as the Emmys. So, so you have the same nominees pretty much going up against each other. And the thing about the Producers Guild is that they only vote for one, right? You just tick off your favorite. Whereas at the Emmys, every year up until this current year that we're in now, voters have had to rank their choices. So
right, like the preferential ballot at the Best Picture race at the Oscars. So it's interesting that the Producers Guild, which mimics the Oscars, went on its own, and now the Emmys are following it in terms of just picking one of. Now, I think you said though that the PGA only nominates 5 series, right? Instead of
they nominate 5, and you mentioned the Oscars. Like, is PGA really going to mislead me twice in the same year? Because I put all my eggs in the Big Short basket there, and that didn't work out.
One of you write lots of different things at Gold Derby, and anyone that wants to know about a deep dive into the ballots, drama, comedy, writing and directing, read Riley's pieces. But I remember you did a guild scorecard a few weeks back, and didn't Transparent do much better than Veep when it came to the guilds?
Maybe not much better, but it did. It won more awards and it got more nominations. The only thing is that Veep did take both the Writers Guild and the Directors Guild, and then Transparent took the Producers Guild. So they are pretty even in that sense. What I find interesting about the Producers Guild, though, is that because you only mark 1, then dramedies tend to do a lot better there.
Okay.
So, like Orange is the New Black won a couple of years ago, and I wonder, would it have won the Emmy if you didn't have all these people who they say, okay, well, that's a drama, so they immediately put it down in 6th? Like, I wonder if the same thing happened with Transparent last year, where maybe it got the most number 1 votes, but it also got a significant portion of number 6, number 7 votes, just because people were offended that it was in the category at all.
Right, and now this year, both of them are fairly fresh. I mean, Veep is just finishing up. That's got to help it. Do you think that which of the 2 of them would be your guess will have the most nominations?
I think Transparent will, just because Veep is it's kind of an older show, and they've had ample opportunity to break into certain categories, and they haven't really. They're pretty consistent. Like last year, they didn't even get much more than the year before, but they were able to win. Whereas Transparent is a new show, and shows that like win series their first year or come close to, they often pick up more nominations in their second year. The flip side of that, though, is that Transparent is a dramedy, and dramedies always go downhill at the Emmys. So.
Now, you've written about the drama and comedy ballots on the writing and directing, and you talk about multiple submissions from a show versus a single submission. So Veep this year, what have they done in terms of writing and directing submissions?
Yeah, Veep is interesting because for years they couldn't get nominated for writing, directing, editing because they would submit more episodes than just about anything else on the ballot. So at first we just thought, okay, Veep is not that popular. But then it won the Writers Guild Award for Best Comedy Series. And that told us that it's just a vote splitting problem. So then they started submitting just one episode in writing. And then they got that nomination. The next year they submitted one episode in directing. They got that nomination, won the Directors Guild Award. They never tried that with editing, so they still haven't been nominated there, which made them like only the second show in the last 15 years or whatever to win without an editing nomination. This year, maybe because they have a new team, or maybe it's because now they're more cocky, I guess, coming off their win, they've gone back to submitting like 3-4 episodes in every category. And while Veep is, maybe the most or second most popular comedy at the Emmys, I don't know if it's really popular enough that it can have its vote split so many ways. So that'll be very interesting.
And what's Transparent done?
Transparent last year, well, they've done the same thing actually. Last year they just submitted one, just their pilot for writing and editing, and this year they've gone ahead and submitted more. So
now, you wrote, and really I would urge people to read these pieces that you've written on we're talking about the comedy side now, but drama as well. I thought what was really interesting, and there's a show that I think could really break out this year, Blackish. And really, as we were talking about on the drama side, I just think as a way for the TV Academy voters to say, we're not the Oscars. We believe in diversity. And I think it's changed. It's a second season, but it feels like the first. I mean, it's changed its tone and its attitude. It's very fresh, feels very relevant. And you wrote such a fascinating analysis of the directing submissions, for Blackish. So talk about that, because I thought that was...
Some big name directors they're really getting behind Blackish this year, like Gail Mancuso, who picked up 2 Emmys for Modern Family, had been nominated by the Directors Guild just a few months ago for the season that's eligible right now. She's withheld her name from Modern Family submitting it, and she's only submitting the Blackish episode that she guest directed. And then you have Beth McCarthy Miller, who won a Directors Guild Award for 30 Rock, got a bunch of nominations there. And she's always working with Tina Fey, so she submitted last year for Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. This year she's withholding her name there, and she's just submitting for Blackish. So
and they could have put their names in for both.
They could have, yeah.
Okay, and so that the belief in it. And what about on the writing side? I'm putting you on the spot. Do you remember roughly how many episodes Blackish has submitted, or? Yeah,
writing they just submitted one, and they did get a Writers Guild nomination for comedy episode, which was kind of surprising because it was for a first season episode, I believe, which wasn't as buzzed about. Personally, I'm very skeptical of Blackish.
Now, this is I assume the one episode for writing is the police brutality video episode, right? That was the one that was sort of the most talked about.
I think so. It's called Hope.
Yes, that's it.
They did have a couple kind of buzz about episodes this year, and I think they're both on the directing ballot. But yeah, writing, they've just gone with one.
And is that because it's the same writers, or is it just a strategic move?
Yeah, it's strategic. Yeah, they've got a bunch of writers, but they said.
So now you're not. Why are you a little holding back in terms of why Blackish could break through?
I just really think that the Television Academy is moving on from the broadcast networks. I mean, when Mom came on a few years ago, then people said, okay, maybe this will succeed The Big Bang Theory the way The Big Bang Theory succeeded 2.5 Men or whatever. But, that wasn't the case. And it just seems kind of backwards to me as HBO increasingly dominates the Emmys and Netflix is coming in. And these are the cool shows that they'd go back and nominate, an ABC sitcom about a family that's like ABC's fourth highest rated sitcom after The Goldbergs in the middle, and has fewer viewers than Last Man Standing. And it doesn't have like we can talk about how it seems to have kind of a renewed energy this year, but like it was there last year, and like it only got the one nomination. One that I think,
yeah, and it's interesting. So you're now, if it was on HBO, would it be more likely to be nominated?
Oh, for sure, yeah. HBO always has a leg up, I think. I remember a few years ago, New Girl, which didn't have the social relevance, I guess, of Blackish, which is maybe the more important part of the argument. But New Girl was a show on Fox that did kind of unexpectedly well at the Emmys for its first season. It got Max Greenfield in, it got a directing nomination, and the second season was much better acclaimed, picked up all these critics awards, and we said, okay, this is a show that the Emmys have watched that got better, but it just got no nominations at all its second season. What it did have in its second season were lower ratings, and the same is true of Blackish. So,
the ratings are lower in season 2.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, okay.
Like these cable shows, they like Game of Thrones or Veep, or well, maybe not Veep, but they kind of get prestige from the awards that they receive, and they get more into the pop culture conversation. Whereas broadcast, it's the opposite. You kind of peak at the start when people see the commercials and whatever, and then they tune out. So.
Okay. Now, according to our odds, one of those ABC shows, Modern Family, is in third place. It won a bunch in a row until Veep stopped it from setting a record. Do you think it'll be nominated again?
It probably will. I don't have it in my predictions. I mean, I know there are 7 slots, and as I was saying earlier, it's extremely hard to fill, I think, like even 4 of them. But like last year, The Big Bang Theory missed, and Jim Parsons missed, even though there's a tie in comedy actor. It's more just that, like, once the Emmys are done with the show, it doesn't really matter what else is there. They're just done with it.
Okay. So you think Modern Family, yay? Now, one of you will be in. So you're saying no to Modern Family. So what do you have rounding out your ballot then?
Yeah. See, this is where my argument loses all credibility, because it's very hard to replace Modern Family. But yeah, Modern Family last year, it wasn't nominated for editing for the first time, misdirecting for the first time, hasn't been nominated by the writers for years. Everybody's tired of it. It's down to just Ty Burrell, Julie Bowen. Neither of us have Julie Bowen in. So Elizabeth Banks isn't there guest starring. So we're kind of expecting it to get like 2 other nominations aside from comedy series.
Right.
So yeah, it's kind of just as weird if it gets into comedy series as if it doesn't.
So you're going, what do you have instead?
Yeah, sorry. So I've got Broad City for one. Okay. I think that Comedy Central is it's kind of been getting cooler in the eyes of Emmy voters over the last few years. Mm-hmm. And yeah, the industry is going out of its way to recognize Comedy Central. Like at the SAG Awards, they nominated Key and Peele for Best Ensemble, even though it's not a comedy series and it's also not an ensemble. It's just the 2 guys. And then at the Producers Guild Awards, they didn't nominate Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt or whatever. They nominated Inside Amy Schumer instead,
which wouldn't be eligible. Yeah,
mm-hmm.
As you said, it's in. So what about? Go ahead.
Yeah. So Broad City, I think it's kind of, people are already checking out some shows on that network. Broad City has been getting, consistent Critics' Choice nominations for comedy series, for comedy actress. So it's a show that like people like. And then this year we also found out that it's on the industry radar because it was nominated for the Writers Guild for Best Comedy Series. And since the Writers Guild created that award, the only shows that haven't translated their comedy series nomination there over to an Emmy nomination are The Simpsons, which is competing in animated program, and My Name is Earl, which was in 2006, and we all like to just discount because that was a weird year.
Well, and I also, but I would say in the instance of My Name Is Earl, it's what Tom O'Neill, our founder, always talks about is the snob side of the TV Academy, that the rewarding the Frasers, the Modern Families, the Veep. You know, it's aspirational. That's it's you know it's drinking red wine. It's not Roseanne. It's not one of my favorite shows, The Middle, which is Roseanne with better looking people. It's just so it's that so Broad City. How does that fit into the snob side of TV Academy voters?
It fits into the snob side because like it they're respected comedians, I guess, where they also do the writing.
Yes.
They do the producing, so they're the multi hyphenates like Louis or
I was just going to say they're the female Louis C.K.'s, you know.
And then also I think the industry or kind of people that matter are paying attention as well. Like they had Hillary Clinton on this season.
That's right.
So
yeah, no, I think you're onto something there.
Might have some clout. Yeah.
I know. No, I mean, I'm going to change my predictions as soon as after we finish this. Include them. Now you mentioned Kimmy Schmidt. We talked about a little in terms of the directing and stuff. Do you see that being back in the race this year?
Kimmy Schmidt, I have coming back because there's 7 nominees, because it's still relatively fresh. But if it were a field of 5, I really don't know, because first of all, Kimmy Schmidt herself wasn't nominated last year, which is kind of a red flag. But it wasn't nominated for writing, even though they loved Tina Fey. Wasn't nominated for directing, even though they had a pilot. Wasn't nominated for editing, even though, they loved 30 Rock. Wasn't nominated for sound. Just like it pretty much only got series, and it got the most famous people nominated, like John Hamm, got Tina Fey in.
So we've talked about the guilds, and particularly on our drama video. But what about the guilds and comedies? We talked about Veep and Transparent. Are there other shows that have done well with the guilds that you think are in the mix?
Yeah, like that's the thing, is that this year the guilds were dominated by Transparent, Veep, and Silicon Valley.
That's the one. With
a little bit of love for Modern Family and The Big Bang Theory. And then pretty much everything else got no wins and no nominations. Yeah.
No, I just want to, sorry, I'm so eager to make this point because Riley is the one that when Silicon Valley came out and you were saying, this is going to get nominated, this is going to get nominated. And the same thing last year. I mean, this was one that I think Gold Derby collectively was guilty of underestimating. So I want to give you the shout out for being the one to sort of call it to our attention. But so do you think, but where it hasn't done anything, Silicon Valley, is in the performance side. Do you think that it'll break through there this year?
Well, this is certainly its last chance. I mean, the 3rd season is still where, people like Larry David or Charlie Sheen, or like the supporting people on Mad Men, 30 Rock, like the 3rd season is still when they're finding people to nominate from a show. 4th season, nobody ever gets nominated, like Zach Braff, and that's it. But I think it goes to it speaks to how the Emmys are. Maybe they can't be carried just by a single branch, like maybe the Oscars can with Spotlight this year, where Silicon Valley has been nominated for everything else. Writing, directing, editing, sound, production design, main title. But so if it can get acting nominations, then I think we should take it seriously for like kind of the win. Probably won't be, but it's certainly in the top 3, I think.
Yeah, and we'll come back to the win in a second. I realized we didn't even sort of say which we kind of Veep versus Transparent, but let's sort of round out the race. So on our list, Master of None is a solid 5th. Do you have?
I think you have that one in too, right?
Yep. Yeah. You don't? I guess.
I do have that one. Master of None. I don't know. First of all, it's a Netflix show, and it got the Critics' Choice win, but we can't take the Critics' Choice seriously because they awarded the Americans last year. And,
no, but to be fair to the Critics' Choice, and this year because they merged film and television, there was a very small window of eligibility on the TV side. They were looking to in their defense, because they shifted to calendar year from the Emmy year, so it was really only shows that had started from June 1st through December. But I think it's got the buzz. It's got Netflix. I'm curious about the Mozart in the Jungle, an Amazon Prime series. I mean, people talk about Transparent. Do you think that the attention focused on Transparent and people like using Amazon Prime, do you think Mozart in the Jungle, or one of my favorites, Catastrophe, do you think that'll boost them at all? The awareness, like people sampling them, the suggestions, oh, you like Transparent, watch this. Do you think that'll help either of those shows?
I think I'm largely unconvinced right now that Amazon is like a major contender outside of Transparent. I think that Mozart of the Jungle is just something that the Globes did because they're weird.
Or maybe because it's a really good show and they appreciated it.
Yeah, but I mean, the Emmys already passed it over for its first season. It doesn't have any guild support, really. I think that one's going to be skipped over. Catastrophe, I'm more open to because it's, with my bias clouding things, it's a better show for one. I'm with you on that. And then it's also...
No, I like them both equally.
Equally, okay.
Yeah. I don't pick my favorites.
But then it's also a new show, so we don't know how it's going to come in. It does have more critical acclaim than Mozart in the Jungle, which something.
Yeah, no, of course. And I think it's got the advantage of they had done 2 seasons in England, but the timing of it when they showed it on Amazon ended up being all Emmy eligible, so they got 12 episodes, which is, twice as many as most English shows would do at a time. So I think it's got that, and it's got an American in the cast, and it's like Broad City in that the stars are also the creators and the writers of every episode, and it's got just one director. So
yeah, it's kind of like Episodes too, where it's a British show, but it's American too.
Yeah,
and
it feels it's accessible. It's not. They
won writing over a BAFTA too.
Right. Yeah, they won BAFTA writing against real heavyweights of the British comedy industry, and I think they were shocked. What do you have in your rounding out the list? Your list.
I guess I've got Transparent, Veep, Silicon Valley, Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, Broad City, Master of None, and Catastrophe. I'll just say about Master of None, though, I'm very worried about that one because, Netflix, they sent their 22-pound
that's right
4-part box set this year. And, how is anybody going to find Master of None in there? It's next to Flaked, it's next to The Ranch, which are these, Netflix comedies that have no acclaim that, people watching this video maybe have never heard of. But to Emmy voters, these are all brand new shows. And, one has Will Arnett in it, one has, I don't know, Ashton Kutcher or something, and then one has Aziz Ansari. I don't know how they decide, this is the one that I should be watching. And it's not even on the industry radar that we know, because it couldn't even get a Writers Guild nomination for Best New Series, which, is a very limited pool to choose from in the first place. It couldn't even get in there.
So, we've talked about what's going to get nominated. Now, what do you think is going, if you had to bet right now, a couple of weeks before nominations came out, what would you say was going to win?
Before nominations, I'd say Transparent, just because I think that Veep does better in the ranked ballot, and Transparent might have an edge with the pick one. Okay.
And then, I'm going to say Veep just because I feel like it's an election year and a female president and all of that. So just to be
probably right.
What about the lead categories? Is Julia Louis-Dreyfus going to set a record?
For sure, yeah.
Oh, really? For sure. So it's not even a...
Well, do you question that, Paul?
I'm thinking you had mentioned her, and so because how does Amy Schumer get to contend for comedy actress when her show can't contend for comedy series?
Yeah, the Emmys have to mess up. It's like, what's the difference between variety special and special class program? I'll never understand.
So I do wonder though, could Amy Schumer win? I don't. I'm not predicting it, but I'm thinking it could happen, couldn't it?
I mean, you could say that, like with the new voting, where everybody's voting, then they'll actually remember voted last year. Because before, there's a disconnect where most like Emmy voters didn't actually vote for the winners because of the blue ribbon panels. So maybe they think, okay, I voted for Julia Louis-Dreyfus last year, I'll vote somebody else this year. But like if her biggest competition is Amy Schumer, who like her show has lost like almost all of its buzz last year. Any nominations that it'll get this time will just be off of, you know, the fumes.
It is interesting, isn't it, how those shows like that kind of burn bright and flame out? Because I think, I think that it could come back, but it feels like she had her moment in a way. Right now we're predicting Ellie Kemper will be nominated. We're also running down our list here. We got Rachel Bloom being nominated and Gina Rodriguez. So there'd be, and plus Lily Tomlin coming back from Grace and Frankie. But of Ellie Kemper, Rachel Bloom, Gina Rodriguez, none of them nominated. Well, Rachel Bloom's a new show, but Ellie Kemper, Gina Rodriguez, do you think they need to get up early on nominations morning, or what's your?
I think Ellie Kemper got the SAG nomination. So that tells us that she was like at least on the radar for the first season. And we have so many people who are out of this category this year. We've got Lisa Kudrow, Amy Poehler, somebody else too is missing this year.
Edie Falco.
Edie Falco, yes. So if she was 7th last year, I think she can easily get into 4th this year.
Right.
But what I love about this category is that it's, I think, a great example for what the kind of main choice of the Emmys is this year. There are so many shows, you know, on Hulu, Amazon, WGN, whatever, where the Emmys have a real chance this year to like be like the Writers Guild and nominate something, you know, out of left field like Broad City or Marin or whatever. But then there are also just enough choices that are kind of more boring that they could conceivably bring in.
Let's say conventional. Let's say conventional.
Yeah, sure. like they could get Jane Fonda in for Grace and Frankie. They could bring back Melissa McCarthy because she gets in, you know, every other year.
Well, I was just going to mention Melissa McCarthy. I really think that, again, you know, this is slightly sentimental, but also the awareness. I mean, big time movie star, maybe getting in. Constance Wu, fresh off the boat, perhaps. I mean, that's somebody who's sort of bubbling up on our list. Tracee Ellis Ross from Blackish. I mean, it's not a super deep list, but there's a few credible, I think, people. What about either of the two leads of Broad City? If you've got it being nominated for comedy series, do you have either of them as a comedy actress nominee?
I think I do. Let me see.
It seems like one, is it Abby is sort of, or Ilana, which one's gotten nominations when the other hasn't?
Yeah, that's kind of weird. Ilana Glaser's gotten in at Critics' Choice both years.
Right. Which I always think must be very awkward.
Yeah, I do have her in 6th.
Okay.
I don't understand how, like last year, Key got nominated, but Peel didn't get nominated, or, you know, Lily Tomlin gets in, but Jane Fonda gets in. Sure. Like, especially when we have that 2% rule. Like, how are they not within 2% of each other? And then over in Comedy Supporting Actress, you've got Niecy Nash within 2% of, I don't know, Mayim Bialik or Julie Bowen or whatever.
We're just deciding who was in 7th and 8th place.
Yeah.
So who do you got in comedy actor? I'm gonna make the leap here and assume that you've got Jeffrey Tambor winning again.
For sure. Yeah.
Okay. Now, what's interesting is, according to our odds, and this is, you know, we're sort of at odds with them, Aziz Ansari strongly in 2nd place for Master of None, and then Anthony Anderson for Blackish. So there's two shows that you personally are sort of ambivalent about. Who do you think is Jeffrey Tambor's strongest competition?
I guess Anthony Anderson, because, you know, I could be wrong and Blackish might explode. But even Tambor still has it. Yeah, this category I'm not sure about right now. In sixth place, I've got The Rock.
For
Just
Ballers?
because for Ballers, I mean, it is HBO's highest rated comedy in 6 years. So, and HBO is a network that they love, and kind of like Anthony Anderson last year, where The Rock is, he's on a show that, the Emmys are aware of, that they like, kind of like. He's a big-ish name,
Right.
but who do you have? Do you have Will Forte?
I think I do, and I probably have. I'm guessing William H. Macy. I'm guessing Gail Garcia Bernal from Mozart in the Jungle, based on the Globes. Maybe John Cheadle. I would like to see Jim Parsons in there again. I just don't know. I think, to your point, once you fall off the radar, and even though it's so interesting, because you can talk about Big Bang Theory being this far along. What did it just finish? It's 8th season, 9th. What number is it?
I think it was a 9.
But it feels fresh because they've sort of reinvented it, and there were the first few seasons that it was off of most people's. It wasn't on most people's radar. I mean, I liked it from the start, but so it doesn't feel as old as all that.
For sure, yeah.
So, yeah, I think that, to your point, though, I think it is. I don't look down that list and see somebody who could, unless it's William H. Macy. I kind of feel like maybe could snatch it away from him. So, well, listen, thank you for taking the time to talk comedy with us after we spent an hour on drama. We did just about half an hour on comedy, so that's good. And thanks again, Riley. And we'll talk. We got to do limited series and another one of these.
Okay.
Okay.